So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Hiku back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Friday, July 9th. Hopefully everybody's having a day so far and a good rest of their day. Yesterday, it is in fact Friday, July 9th here today, coming off of another big night in sports last night. The Yankees were on, Mets were on as well, Yankees were on yesterday. They obviously were not able to get the win. We're not able to sweep the series, but at the end of the day, it was, at the end of the day, we just weren't able to get the series win. And obviously yesterday, the Yankees were on. The Mets were not able to, not able to get their game in. But obviously, with the Yankees, we weren't able to. We weren't able to get the win, and it was one of those things where we got one hit, and we just did not play well. We did not play well enough to get the win, and at the end of the day, we just got to bounce back tonight and hope that we can get the win tonight against the Astros. Obviously, the Astros are a very good opponent at hand, a very good opponent ahead of us, and you got to hope that. This team finds a way to bounce back from yesterday's loss and head into today's game rather, and try and get the win. And, like I mentioned, we still got the series win. It's not like we got swept and we got 5 combined hits in 3 games. No, we still got the series win. We won 2 out of 3. So, and we've won 3 out of our last 4, and we still got the series win. So, at least we got the series win. And that's something that, we should be happy about, because all Yankee fans, we've been complaining that we aren't winning, we aren't getting any wins, we aren't winning against, we're not beating good teams, stuff like that. We got a series win against a Mariners team that is actually up from us in the division. And that's something that I think is pretty big. And, with the win, with the loss yesterday, I would have loved to move to 45 and 41 and then head to Houston on a complete winning note with a 3-game sweep, 4-game win streak, because it carries over into that Mets series, and head into the game tonight with a sweep and, firing all cylinders. That's what I would have loved. It's not the case, but like I mentioned, at the end of the day, we still won the series, and now we head to a big series here in Houston, and we'll see, how everything plays out, and, a 3-game set before the All-Star break. And that's another thing. No matter how good you are doing, whether you're 20 games above 500, whether you're 10 games below 500, whether you're like the Yankees and you're just hovering over 500, and you're just, or whether you're right on 500, right? The final game of the series for the first half, the final series rather of the first half is always big, because you want to end the first half on a high note. So Yankees starts today, game tonight, and you got to hope that we get the win. And, I know a lot of Yankee fans out there, with yesterday's loss are going to be all negative, but, at least we won the series, and, in a season that's been full of negatives, you got to try and look at the positive for once, and at least hopefully say that, we can at least try and do something against Houston. Houston's not going to be easy. It ain't going to be easy. It's not going to be as all. Houston's having a good season. It's not going to be easy, but, we got to find a way to get the job done. And, whatever that takes is... we got to find a way, because you want to end the first half of the season on a high note rather than a low note. And, we'll see how it all plays out. So, Yankees play today, open up a 3-game set, weekend series, Friday to Sunday, 3-game set against Houston. Then the Mets also play today. Yesterday's game got postponed. They play today. And the Suns won Game 2 last night, so they move up 2-0 in the series. I said big game last night. Suns win last night. Now all they got to do is take at least one from Milwaukee, and you come back home Game 5 with an opportunity to seal the series. So, Suns won last night. They have a day off today. They don't play again until Sunday. So, day off today, day off tomorrow. Then they get back to playing Sunday. Like I mentioned, Yankees play today. Mets play today. So, and then we head into the weekend with Mets, Yankees on throughout the weekend. And then Monday will be the start of the All-Star break. And you got all the All-Star game and the Home Run Derby and all that stuff. So that should be exciting as well. And I don't think there's much else really to report. Obviously, NHL season's done. All that stuff is over. So we are right now in the prime of baseball season, and NFL training camp's also starting up right around the corner. So today's podcast will put the cherry on top for the week as we head into the weekend with a lot more sports ahead. All right, so let's get to the topics for today's podcast. Packed podcast as always. I wanted to get to the Yankees series preview, so that's first on tap for today. I wanted to get into the Yankees, get into their series preview, kind of get into what to expect. My little prediction on it. Kind of just what to expect this series and how big this series is before you head into an All-Star break. And in the first half of the season, that has been underwhelming is an understatement. Saying that we have not exceeded expectations is an understatement. We have not been good in the first half of the season. We have not been good at all. We've been bad. We have not played well in the first half of the season. And you want to at least end the first half of the season on a high note before you head into the second half of the season. And to start off the second half of the season, you got a brutal schedule ahead. You're going to have to play against Boston for 4, then 2 against Philly, then against Boston again, then against the Rays. So you have a brutal schedule coming out of the All-Star break. And the Yankees got to find a way to end the first half of the season on a high note and head into the All-Star break on a high note in order to really, have a chance at maybe winning some of those other games in the second half of the season. So we'll get into that. I know a lot of people are probably going to question what I'm about to talk about. You might not know anything about the topic. You may know nothing. If you watch college basketball, more than likely you probably know the name and obviously the team. Obviously, I wanted to get to some Kentucky basketball today. So I've been talking a lot about obviously the NBA, NHL, MLB, and NFL. I've taken a little bit of a break with because there really has not been any news in the NFL. The news has been very minimal in the NFL. There's been N'Keal Harry news, stuff like that, but nothing too crazy. It's nothing that's really worth talking about. So today I want to get to Kofi Cockburn. He is more than likely, or he is thinking about transferring from Illinois, entering the transfer portal, and joining another school. And obviously a guy who ended up backing out of the NBA draft, decided to go back to college, and he said that Kentucky is a serious option for him to go. And I am super excited to hear this news. Obviously, given that he was a great player last season for Illinois. We all know how good Illinois' team was. Kofi Cockburn, Ayo Dosunmu, that team had a really, really good team. They were a very good basketball team. He was a huge part of that team and was one of the better players in the nation last season. Was one of the better ones. I'm not saying the best, but he had a very good year. Was averaging like 9 rebounds a game, 17 points per game. Had a really good season. I want to get into him, get into his chance of going to Kentucky and getting, possibility of him going to Kentucky and how it could benefit us in so many ways. So I'll get into him. Then I'll get into the New York Sports Update. As always, we finished off the podcast with the New York Sports Update. Finish off the week. And, today we got Yankees-Mets on. Yankees' first game of a 3-game set weekend series. So I'll come back on Monday and talk about that. Obviously, that's the one thing with weekend series. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I do the podcast Monday through Friday, so I'll come back on Monday, and, I talk about, the Yankees-Astros, but it's kind of funny because you got to recap all 3 games, and, Friday, tonight's game on Monday will feel like so long ago because you already had all the other games and all the other games throughout the weekend. So, another big baseball weekend ahead of us. What's pretty cool about these Yankees series is Saturday's game tomorrow is on Fox, and then Sunday's game is on TBS. So you got 2 games that are nationally televised. Tonight's game, I believe, is just on Yes and whatever Houston's network is. So that should be good. I like nationally televised games. But yeah, anyway, that's what I got for the podcast, or not the podcast. That's what I got for the beginning of this podcast. And with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So, the New York Yankees will head into Houston now. to play against the Houston Cheaters, Astros, whatever you want to call them, for a 3-game set. And this will obviously be the final 3-game set before the All-Star break. Obviously, the All-Star break starts on Monday, July 12th, and really lasts until Thursday, July 15th, which is when the Yankees come back. So it's kind of short this year. It's only about a 4-day break. And for the players that are going to be competing in the All-Star game and the Home Run Derby, they're going to have the Home Run Derby on Monday, All-Star game on Tuesday, and Wednesday you have a day off, and Thursday you're back playing. So it's going to be a lot for the guys that are competing in the All-Star game and the Home Run Derby. If you're just competing in the All-Star game, you have Monday, Wednesday off, and then, all that stuff. But, if you're competing in the Home Run Derby, you're going to have one day off, and then that day off is probably going to be a travel day to your next destination. So it's kind of weird this year how the MLB did it. Usually I remember the All-Star break being this whole 5-6 day thing where they'll have the Futures game on Friday, All-Star Home Run Derby on Saturday, and the All-Star game on Sunday, and then the teams won't return to play until Thursday. And that's what I always remember, but this year it's only 4 days, which is, I guess, good for a fan because it means that we aren't without baseball for very long. I remember during the All-Star break, so you'll have a 5-6 day stretch of no baseball on, and it'll be super weird because there won't be really anything else on. But this year, it's only about it really is only about a 4-day thing. So, which is good for fans, I guess. For the players, I don't know. I mean, for the players that aren't competing in the All-Star break, that's 4 days off, so that's really nice. But for the guys that are, obviously a little bit less time. But either way, we are heading into the All-Star break. Crazy that I'm saying this. It feels like just yesterday I was talking about Yankees opening day versus the Toronto Blue Jays. But yeah, the Yankees right now, obviously, to say that the first half of the season has been underwhelming, has been a struggle, is an understatement. I mean, the first half of the season for the New York Yankees has not been good. We have struggled. We have not been able to find any consistent winning. It's not even like there was a time where there was that one moment, I believe, it might have been May, where we got in that stretch where we went we had a really good record, and, it looked like, maybe we were starting to find, the winning formula. We started to get, high above 500, and then we were, up there in third and second place and stuff, and it was okay, this is the New York Yankees team we all expected, and then we started to plummet again, and then you get a little bit better, and you plummet again, and you get a little bit better, and you plummet again. And the story of this season for the New York Yankees, even though we are 2 games above 500, I feel like there's been a lot more negatives than there have been positives. And it's crazy to think that just a couple weeks ago, when the Yankees went to that 9-game stretch when they were 7-2, and they were playing really good baseball, and it was okay, finally, we beat the A's, we beat the Royals, we beat some good teams. And you're all right, finally, things are starting to look upwards. Then you head into the Angels series, and everything goes wrong in that series. You have the rainouts, the delays, the blown games, and all that stuff. That series just got blown up. That series was so weird because it was a 4-game set, and there was 2 games and then a rain delay. It was so weird. That was such a weird series. That happened. Then you go against the Mets. You get the first game rained out. You lose that Saturday. Then you split the doubleheader on Sunday, and then you lose the series overall. And you're okay, here we go again. And then before that Angel series, you got swept by Boston. That's the thing. The Yankees this season, I've noticed so far, this first half of the season, has been so many more, even though we're 2 games above 500, and that's what's so weird, is if you hear a Yankee fan talk about how the seasons went, they would think that we were at the bottom of the division, worst team in the division, 10 games below 500. But we are still 2 games above 500, which isn't good, but it's kind of funny how it seems like there's been a lot more negatives and a lot more losing than there has been winning. But that's because the winning's kind of gotten lost in the shuffle with everything that's gone on this season, from, the hitting and the pitching and the strikeouts and, the non-outfield production, and you got the bullpen and Chapman. There's been so many negatives that the positives seem to get lost in the shuffle. Oh, we won this game. Yeah, we won tonight. Yeah, that got blown out by our 5-game losing streak. So that's what's kind of been happening. And, the Yankees recently here seem to get a little bit better. You beat the Mets on the second game of the doubleheader, which, I like winning. It's great, but, it's something that, is obviously still not satisfied with. You still lose the series. And then you head to Seattle, and it seemed like the Yankees started to get a little better, right? They put a 12 spot up in the first game. They win 12-1, and obviously 18 hits in that first game. And then you go to the second game, they score 5 runs, 5-4, and they have 10 hits, and you're sitting here looking like, okay, we have a 10-hit game. We're starting to get hits. That's let's see here. So they had 12 hits, and then they had 18 hits. That's 30 hits in the first 2 games. And you're like, okay, we're rolling. And then all of a sudden yesterday, we've won a hit game. And that's what's been happening with the New York Yankees, is you have 30 hits combined in the first 2 games. That's an average of 15 hits a game. The first 2 games of the series, you're 12-1 winning game 1 and you're 5-4 winning game 2. You have a combined 30 hits in those 2 games. And then you come out on yesterday, right? It's a day game. I understand a travel day after a night game, right? And maybe the Yankees did get caught looking ahead to this big series coming up against Houston, maybe. But then all of a sudden, you get 1 hit. And you're like, wow. Like, that's what's been happening with this Yankees team this year, is we show flashes. Like, oh, we're on a 3-game win streak. Wow. And you get 1 hit. Or against the A's against that stretch where we were winning all those series against the A's team, too. It was a good team. Royals not as good, but Royals still got talent on their roster. And you go 7-2, and then you get swept by Boston. And I know I'm talking a little bit down the road here, or not down the road, a little bit back here. I am backing up on the season, but it's been that's how it's been rolling. And the Yankees now head into a big series here against Houston to finish out the first half of the season. And I've always said this as a fan. The All-Star break is big, right? That's the first half and the second half of the season. The Yankees I think it's big for us to finish off the first half of the season on a high note. If we go into this series, come flat out terrible, and get swept, then that's bad. Because number 1, you're going to go into the All-Star break below 500. And number 2, getting swept, period, is not a good thing. No matter if you're 10 games above 500, whether you're 30 games above 500, getting swept is not a good thing. If you travel to a place, or if you go into a series and you don't win 1 game, that's an issue. No matter how good you are, that's an issue. I've always said it. I cannot stand getting swept. Win 1 game, lose the series, all you want. Just don't get swept. Now, I'm not going into that mindset with the Yankees. The Yankees, I would love to win this series. Try to find a way to win. If you can try to steal a game tonight, Odorizzi's on the mound. He's nothing overpowering. But if you can try to steal a game tonight, hope that Cole's back on tomorrow, and then, you go from there. But this is a big series for the Yankees before the All-Star break. Because you got to realize, I think after the All-Star break, when the Yankees return on July 15th, which is the Thursday against the Red Sox, we'll open up a 4-game set at home against Boston. And that will be the start of a 6-game homestand before you head to Boston for another 4. I personally think this. The New York Yankees, when they play the 4 against Boston, that will probably more than likely, in my opinion, decide their season is these next games in July. After they return from the All-Star break, the 4-game stretch against Boston, the 2 against Philly, the next 4 against Boston, the 3 against Tampa, and then the 3 against Miami that go into August, that I think will ultimately decide whether or not we are a playoff team or not. Because let's just say we come out of the All-Star break, we lose 3 or 4 to Boston. We take 1 from there. Then we go to Philly, and maybe we split the Philly series. Or the last time the Philly played us, they beat us twice. Let's say we split the Philly series. Then you go back, then you play away against Boston, and you lose another 3 or 4. Maybe worse, you get swept. And then you go to Tampa, they're not an easy team to beat. Then Miami, they're beatable, but still. The Yankees coming out of this All-Star break, this next stretch of 13 games are big. The 13 games coming out of there, right? Because you got 4, that's 4, then that's 6, then that's 10, 13. That 13-game stretch is big. If you go 9-4 in that 13-game stretch, that's big. If we go 3-10 in that 13-game stretch, that's bad. If you go even worse and go 1-12, that's worse. I don't think that's going to happen. The Yankees aren't that bad. If you go 6-7, I don't think that's terrible. If you go 7-6, that's not terrible either. I would, 7-6, I think how the Yankees have played this season. If you can have a winning record through those 13 games, that's big. But that's really what I wanted to say there. Like, the Yankees coming out of the All-Star break, it's that 13-game stretch. The 4 against Boston, then the next 2 against Philly, that's 6. Then 4 more against Boston, then you go 3 against Tampa. And then you stay down in Florida and play against Miami. That 13-game stretch is big. Number 1, Boston is a good team. Tampa is a good team. And number 2, those are 2 teams that are ahead of us in the division and 2 teams that are having very good seasons and teams that have been able to beat us badly recently. The Red Sox this season are 6-0 against us. We've had 2 3-game sets against them. We've lost every game. They are 6-0 against us. As a Yankee fan, you can't sit here and tell me that the Yankees are better than the Red Sox when they have not proven anything yet. But that 8-game stretch against the Red Sox, you'll play the Red Sox 8 times in 11 days. It's a golden opportunity to try and find a way to take some games. And if you lose and you come out flat and you go 2-6 in that 8-game stretch, there's going to be issues. And there has to be then changes made. But for now, the Yankees got to focus on the series today at hand. And we got 3 against Houston. And, like I mentioned, I would love to go into the All-Star break on a winning note. And that doesn't mean lose today and tomorrow and win on Sunday and go into the All-Star break on that winning note. No, I mean try and win the series. I don't want to go in to the All-Star break winning 1 game in this series and being satisfied with that. No. As a Yankee fan, you're not going to be able to take that. Sure, you could say, okay, at least we didn't get swept. Yeah, sure, you could say that. I'll say that because I hate getting swept. I can't stand it. But the Yankees, I would love to at least try and steal a game here. Try and steal a game or 2. I want to win a series. I won't be really satisfied if we take 1. I mean, today I think is our best opportunity probably to take 1 game because in terms of the pitching, Odorizzi's on the mound today. He's a 3.70 ERA. Not that he's not good, but I think in terms of who we're going to see this series, he's probably definitely the best. Game 2, which is tomorrow, Saturday, we have Greinke. And Greinke, the Yankees actually hit very well. Every time we faced them in the playoffs, we actually really hit Greinke really well. I don't know if that's going to carry over into this season. Greinke's got a 3.64 ERA this season, so he hasn't been as good, but still, we'll see how it all plays out. And then Sunday, we play against Framber Valdez, and he's had a very good season. So the Yankees, I think today, you got to find a way to win today. Because Odorizzi, not that he's not good. I mentioned Odorizzi at the earlier of the year when he signed. I said it was a good signing. He's a good pitcher. He's not overpowering. He's nothing that's going to shut you down. He's hittable. But in terms of who we're going to face this weekend, I think today's a big opportunity. And tomorrow, too. Because we've hit Greinke very well in the past. We've not hit him well. We've rocked Greinke. You go back to postseason highlights, Greinke has gotten destroyed by the Yankees in postseason. Now, yes, that's a different team, but Judge, Stanton, LeMahieu, those guys are still there. And in terms of today, Odorizzi, I don't really know the history with him that much. I mean, I know he played with Minnesota, and the Yankees obviously had many runs with Minnesota here, but, his first time we're facing him when he was with Houston, he's nothing untouchable. Then you go into Sunday, and Framber Valdez has had a very good season. So, if you're the Yankees here, you got to find a way to, sweep, that's not the expectation here. If the Yankees went into this series 20 games above 500, the sweep could be a realistic possibility, but, the Yankees got to find a way. Game 1 tonight's big. Game 1's big. We win tonight, you start the series on a high note, then you just got to find a way to take 1 more from Saturday or Sunday. That's all. And you got to go on a winning note. And I don't want to go into the All-Star break 44-45 because we get swept. That's the last thing I want. And the Yankees pitching is going to have to find a way to cool this Houston team down because they are a very hot team right now. They are 54-34. Now, they did lose yesterday, I believe, to Oakland, but still, or the other day. I don't know if they had a day off. I think they, I believe yesterday, yes. So yesterday they did lose to Oakland 2-1, like I mentioned. But in terms of how they've been playing in their last 10 games, they still are 6-4, and they're first in the AL West at 54-34. So, as much as I can't stand them, as much as I believe that they didn't get enough punishment in their cheating scandal, they've been playing good baseball this season, and it's been led by Carlos Correa. Tuve's been better recently. I can't stand to say it. I can't stand any of those guys. I believe that a lot of people in that organization should never be able to see a baseball field again, should never be able to step on a baseball field, never be able to step into a baseball field stadium again. That's my personal opinion on it. I know everyone has their opinion on it. I still believe that the Astros did not get the right punishment. I believe that A.J. Hinch should not be back. Cora should not be back. Neither of those guys should ever be coaching. I believe the MLB's punishment was really, really weak. But different story, different day. And, as a Yankee fan, it's one of those things where if you feel frustrated about the cheating, go and beat them. And the Yankees took care of the Astros earlier in the season. We actually did. When we played them back at our place, back at Yankee Stadium, that was, I believe, back in May, we actually took care of them. We won the series. Obviously, we lost the final game 7-4. I believe that was the Altuve home run game, but we won the series. So, let's check who they faced. Who did they face in that series? They faced... look, game 1 they faced Greinke, and they only allowed him to have 4 innings pitched. 3 runs, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, and a home run allowed. So I'm telling you, Yankees hit Greinke very well. Then game 2, we won 6-3. Who did we face? Luis Garcia. And then game 4, could that be Odorizzi or... No, I pressed on the same game again. Game 4, we faced Lance McCullers. Yes, I remember that. I remember that series. That was a series with all the garbage cans and banging and stuff. So, it's a big series here for the Yankees. And obviously, like I mentioned, we hit Greinke very well. So, if the Yankees find a way to win today, you got to feel at least decently confident going into tomorrow's game, given that Greinke's on the mound. And, you got to hope that, Cole's on his game and he has a better performance than he has in his last couple outings. But, that's big. And, we got Nestor Cortez on the mound today, who has been like a secret weapon for the New York Yankees. I've said it a little bit. A season that has been, a struggle for the New York Yankees. Nestor Cortez has been a guy who has been able to really, be that like hidden gem and be that guy that's a little, he's just like, it's just weird because this is a guy who the Yankees had, he was kind of up and down, with the minors and the Yankees. And I've always noticed that whenever he would come up with the Yankees, he would have good performances. He would make his presence felt. He would do his job. He would go out. Was he anything special? No, but he would go out, do his job. He would close an inning down. He would, relieve for a guy. And then the Yankees got rid of him, they got rid of him or whatever, Seattle, and now he's back with the Yankees. And this season, he's had a great year. And, today he starts and he's got a 1.29 ERA. And I mean, a guy who, like, out of the middle of nowhere has just blossomed into this, like, hidden gem for the Yankees. And a guy that all of a sudden Boone is really relying on to be a key asset for this team. I mean, this was a guy that originally would come on in a big lead or when they were down a lot and just, come in. But now he's coming in a lot of high-leverage situations. I mean, he came in for that Yankees-Mets game, and look, he got the job done. He went out, pitched well, and now he's going up against a very good lineup in the Houston Cheaters, and he's also got to get the job done today. So, obviously, Nestor Cortez versus Jake Odorizzi today. That's your probables. Tomorrow, it is Garrett Cole and Zach Greinke. That is also your probables. And Sunday, it's Jameson Taillon and Framber Valdez. And, Taillon, I still haven't gained all the trust in him, but he's been better. His last, 4 starts have been much better. And I feel like, in a way, not that Philly start was good, but that Philly start might have been the best thing for him. Because after that Philly start that happened, after that start, after that start where he only was able to record 1 out or 2 outs or whatever, I think only 1 out, and he let up 4 runs, that start was rock bottom for him. That was a terrible start. He hit rock bottom. After that, I feel like he's changed a lot of stuff. I think that start was one of those starts where he knew, you know what, I got to get something done. Because at that time, he was still up there in the 5 ERA, and you're thinking as the Yankees, you would start some rumblings and you start hearing some things, to start standing him down, see what someone else can do. All of a sudden, come back, and he's been better his llast 4 starts. And, all of his ERA was all the way up there at 5.5 like 6 or 5.8, and it's down to 5.05. So he's lowered it, and he's been better. And actually, I could read you his stats here. He's been better recently. You just got to hope that he keeps this up. 7 innings, 5 1/3, 6 1/3, 4 2/3. And after that inning where he went a third of an inning, 5 hits, 4 runs, 4 earned. His last 4 starts since that, 4 2/3, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned. Right, that was good. 6 1/3, 5 hits, 1 run, 1 earned. 5 1/3, 9 hits, 5 earned. Not great, but they still got the win, the Yankees. And then you have this game, last start against Seattle, 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 earned. And that's big. And, he's starting to pitch better. He's starting to, be much better. And you just got to hope that he keeps this up, because Framber Valdez has also been good for the Astros and always allowed 4 home runs this season. And, you just got to hope that the long ball, too, does not hurt the Yankees. So, we'll see how it all plays out. But Yankees, big game today, because you get the job done today. You go into tomorrow against Greinke, and you got to feel at least confident, because the Yankees have dominated Greinke this season. And, when we played against the Astros earlier in the season, we were struggling. Again, we were still struggling. And, we were able to get the job done there as well, but we were still struggling. And, now that the Yankees, now this is a big game. This is a big game for the Yankees. No doubt about that. A big series. Not just this game. These 3 games are huge. Like, these 3 games could be games that you look back on the season and say, you know what? Like, these are big. And you want to head into the All-Star break on a high note. And, there's nothing worse than going into the All-Star break, getting swept, and being below 500, and then having to come out and have to play Boston right out of the gate. That's the last thing you want as a Yankee fan. We got to get the job done in this series. And, you got to hope that this pitching and the hitting produces. That's what's so weird about the Yankees. We have 30 hits across the first 2 games of that Mariners series, and then we get 1 hit yesterday. Like, that's what's just been so weird. And, even yesterday, we didn't get smoked. We lost 4-0. I mean, it wasn't like the Mariners were destroying the ball either. The Mariners had 5 hits. It wasn't like they were destroying the ball. Monty pitched well yesterday. I know a lot of people are going to want to flip the blame on Monty, but he pitched good. He had 6 2/3, 4 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts. The long ball hurt him a little bit. If he doesn't allow 2 home runs, it's, it doesn't help when your team's not, like, it's so hard as a pitcher when you go out there and your team gets 1 hit for you. And that 1 hit was by Giancarlo Stanton. And, it's just, you got to be better. And the Yankees have got to be, it's just the Yankees just got to find a way. They got to find a way this series. And tonight's big, because if you could jump on Odorizzi early, create it to be a bullpen game, and then all of a sudden you get into, Greinke, and we've hit Greinke in the past, like, that's all of a sudden, like, okay, things are starting to look up. But it all starts tonight. Got to take game by game. Yankees better come out and play well. And, big series here before the All-Star break gets going. And I'm excited for the All-Star game. I'm excited for the All-Star game, the Home Run Derby. I think it's all going to be exciting. I think it's, I definitely think a lot of people, I would definitely say a lot of people tend to enjoy the All-Star game and the Home Run Derby. I would say, I know some people might not, but, I think it's always fun. So, and Judge, Chapman, Cole are all in the All-Star game for the Yankees. Other than that, no other All-Stars. I tend to disagree with some. I'm surprised that LeMahieu's not in the All-Star game. Yankees fans, I think, hate Stan so much that they don't even vote for him, which annoys me, because then when they sit back here and say, oh, well, Stan's not in the All-Star game, well, yeah, because you didn't vote for him. You don't like him. So, and that's what sometimes happens. He is a DH, which is tough because, the All-Star, DH is kind of Ohtani's now. If he played the outfield, there probably would have been a chance, but, we'll see how it all plays out. You just got to hope that the Yankees get the job done today and then throughout the weekend. And, like I mentioned, today, tomorrow, Sunday, all got to be good games and, all got to try to get the win. So, with all that being said, that will do it for the Yankees series preview. Like I mentioned, big series coming up here. And coming up next here, I want to get a Kofi Cockburn. He says he is serious about Kentucky if he does decide to transfer from Illinois. I think this will be big for Kentucky. I will talk about how it will be huge and talk about how big he can be to this team and how much of a successful season he had last year. I will get into him coming up next. Alrighty, so let's get into this here. Kofi Cockburn says Kentucky is a serious option if he transfers from Illinois. So obviously, Kofi Cockburn has officially decided to withdraw from the 2021 NBA draft. Obviously, there's been a lot of guys that have done it. We've heard a couple big names. Decide to withdraw from the draft and decide to go back to college. E.J. Little from Ohio State. We've heard Johnny Juzang, now Kofi Cockburn. We've heard the guy from Oral Roberts, who was the nation's leading scorer, Max Adams. So we've heard actually a lot of guys. Hunter Dickinson from Michigan. We've heard about him. We've heard a ton of players that are some big names throughout college decide to return. Obviously, Johnny Juzang being one of the bigger ones, with his Final Four run there with UCLA, their magical run that ended up ending to Gonzaga, who ended up losing to Baylor. We all know how the March Madness played out. But Kofi Cockburn has decided to withdraw from the 2021 NBA draft. Davion Mintz too from Kentucky. He decided to withdraw, so he's coming back to Kentucky. How the NBA draft works is if you decide to go into it, you could keep your options open, and if you hire an agent, that means that you're going to be full in. Now, if you don't hire an agent, you could still come back. You could still back out of it. But if you hire an agent, that means you're all in on the process. You're not going back to college. So Kofi Cockburn decided at the end of it, he decided the best would to be withdraw from the NBA draft and come back to college, which, personally, I had no, obviously, say in the decision-making. I had no say in the decision-making. I don't really know why he did it. Some guys give reasons. He just decided to come back. Some of it could be deciding on when they were going to get drafted, where they're going to get drafted. Some guys, personally like certain situations. Some guys, if they start, because you could tell when you're going to get drafted. A lot of these guys get good ideas of when they're going to get drafted when they meet with the teams and they get a feel for what teams want and what teams need. And, a lot of times what happens is when they withdraw from the draft, they just didn't feel like they were really, they just didn't feel like teams were either 100% sold on them or they were not in the best situation to succeed. Or, if you just declare for the draft and you drafted so late, you could be putting your career in a little bit of jeopardy because, you might never get that playing time that you wanted or you deserve or you expect. You should probably go into the draft when you're 100% ready, and that's why I disagree a little bit with B.J. Boston going to the draft from Kentucky as well, because this is a guy who struggled in his first year, was still solid but not what we expected. And you wish that, if he was 1 year full off-season training under John Calipari, you would have loved to see what he could have done, the strides he could have been made. Obviously, with the COVID-shortened season and all that stuff, wasn't able to be as good, be as dominant. But I thought, with under a full season under Calipari, I thought he could have been. But, he wasn't, in this offseason, we'll never know what he could have been, but he decided to declare. And Kofi Cockburn, I'm actually kind of surprised that he decided to step back because this is a guy who is a really good player. He had an excellent season last season. You could call that Illinois' big two, him and Iota Sumu, who had both great years. And yes, their run fell short to Loyola Chicago. They still had a great season. And, arguably one of the better teams in the nation. And, a team who, going into the season, their expectations, weren't, anything, insanely high, but their expectations were, go out, win some games, do your job, and Kofi Cockburn exceeded, I think, expectations last season. Many categories from his, stat categories were up from last season. A guy who can get in the paint, get a lot of rebounds, be physical in the paint, and that's one thing last season that Kentucky was really missing, was a physical presence in the paint. They were missing a guy that could get in there, really, get rebounds, put up layups, get second chances. I mean, Kentucky last season could not get second chances. They would get a rebound, go up for a layup, miss it. Get a rebound, go up for a layup, miss it. And they were not able to get second chance opportunities much. And when they got those second chances, they weren't able to take advantage. And Kofi Cockburn, a guy who could go on a possession, get 2-3 rebounds, and put up a layup, and with his strength, with his power, with his force, could put it down, get it in, maybe draw an and one, get to the free throw line. And he could hit free throws as well. With with Kentucky losing, guys like Olivier Sarr and guys like that, you still have, you still have some guys on the team that can get up there, like Obi Toppin. Jacob Toppin, Obi Toppin's brother, rather. I said that opposite. Jacob Toppin could get in there. He can get a rebound or two here and there, but nothing too crazy. Lance Ware did not have a great season last season. He would go in there. He would get a rebound, but nothing too crazy either. But Kofi Cockburn, a guy who, if you see what he looks like, I mean, he's a big guy. He's a guy that goes out, and a guy that really, really, really dominates, sets the tempo early in games. He brings energy to the locker room. He brings energy to a team. And for a Kentucky team last season, I felt like was a little flat, in terms of energy and in terms of, guys making these big plays and guys making these, what they call them, these like energy-inducing plays where, one play could just erupt the bench, erupt the sideline, erupt the team. The Kentucky didn't really have that as much last season. And Kentucky's had that in the past. With all the great players that have came through Kentucky, they've had a lot of guys that have, been energy-inducing players. Well, they'll make one or two really big plays, and all of a sudden, those two plays, those 4 points, turn into a 15-3 run or a 20-6 run or something like that. That is what Kofi Cockburn can do. And we saw Illinois last season make these runs, and I think that's actually what hurt them a little bit in the March Madness was they made too many runs, and then they had too many bad stretches. They were too streaky. They would make a long run, then it would not be well. Then it would make a long run and be terrible. Make a long run, be terrible. They were too streaky in the postseason. But when they're good, when they're on their game, when they're healthy, because Dosumi did play through that broken nose, when they're healthy, when they're 100% guys out there that they are 100% healthy, that Illinois team last season was a force to be reckoned with. And mainly it was a big part of Kofi Cockburn and Aya Dosumi. They're kind of big two type players. Those two guys that really set the tempo were the leaders of that team. And guys that really took that Illinois team from here to that next level. Because they were here, right? The expectations were not sky high for them. And then they were up here. And they were in a really good division, really good conference, rather, in the Big Ten. Winning games in that conference, beating big-time teams, and got to the March Madness. Now, they did not get far, but still they got there. And Kofi Cockburn, a guy who was a big part of getting there and a big part of, being in that March Madness. And, like I mentioned last season, Kentucky was kind of flat. Now, as a Kentucky fan this season, I expect completely different. I expect this to be a good team this year. I expect this to be back in the March Madness, be back to normal, because we got a ton of good guys now that are in their second year. We brought a lot of big name, top recruits back in. Last season was a little bit of a down year for us because our recruiting system was all weird and you had the shorten off season. And that's why I would say a lot of the big name schools. I would think Duke, North Carolina, and Kentucky, they'll all be much better this season. And the reason I think that is because, and the reason I think even Kansas, they had a little bit of a down year last year too. The reason I think that is because they will have a full off season and they will have a better recruiting system. With all the weird COVID stuff last season, your recruiting got all messed up, and you'll be able to bring in a lot of new guys with a lot of great potential, and really develop them well. And Kofi Cockburn, if the Kentucky adds on to that, that would be huge. And Kentucky also went out and got some other transfers, and that's all good as well. Now North Carolina is with a new head coach, but, they still can get strong talent. Duke, obviously, with Coach K leaving after this year, could be interesting to Donna how he recruits, because guys usually go play for Coach K. So, it could be interesting. But, Kentucky, I would really say, is one of the only teams that, in terms of those two teams that I just mentioned, that have the same coach, kind of have the same recruiting philosophy, have the same recruiting plan and grabbing transfer plan. And Kofi Cockburn, I think, would be a big part of it. And a guy who's already been in, college basketball for 2 years, has experienced a lot, and, it's been in a winning atmosphere last season with Illinois, can bring that and, in a way, be a big part of Kentucky. And I would love this. I mean, this would be awesome if we could get Kofi Cockburn. So Kofi Cockburn says Kentucky is a serious option if he transfers from Illinois. Illinois center Kofi Cockburn said Tuesday he's withdrawing his name from the 2021 NBA draft class and will continue to explore transfers options, including Kentucky, after entering the NCAA transfer portal last week. Cockburn told ESPN's Jonathan Giovanni he's open to all options and he could still return to the Fighting Illini. But his connection to former Illinois assistant Orlando Antigua, who joined the Wildcat staff, puts UK firmly in the conversation. Kentucky, it's a serious option. Antigua is my guy. He said, I'm going to consider them, but there are a lot of schools. I wasn't really focused on that while I was in the NBA draft. Now I could take my time and evaluate it better. Cockburn put together a strong sophomore season for the Illini. In 2020-2021, he averaged 17.7 points per game, 9.5 rebounds per game, and 1.3 blocks, while shooting 65.4% from the floor across 31 appearances. That was another issue with Kentucky last season. They were a terrible shooting team from the three and the floor. They were awful. Like I mentioned, they were not able to get many putbacks. They were not able to really drive, not hit mid-range. They were terrible. Guy who shot 65.4% and makes your shooting go way up. A 21-year-old Jamaican native explained to Giovanni he felt prepared to make the NBA jump but didn't receive the type of response he wanted from the league's decision makers. I think I'm ready for the next level, but I wasn't happy with the input I was getting from NBA teams, Cockburn said. I don't want to settle. I'm going to return for another year, raise my game, and improve my draft stock. In a different area, the 7-foot, 285-pound post player would likely be a top 10 draft pick. The NBA game has evolved toward more versatile big men. However, the 2021 first team All Big Ten selections game is still a work in progress in that regard. Cockburn has attempted only one three-point shot and dished out 25 assists in 62 games for Illinois, and he confirmed to Giovanni those were the most common concerns raised by pro teams. NBA teams are going to see my mid-range game next year and my playmaking, he said. He'd be a welcome sight for any college program, but especially Kentucky, as head coach John Calipari and company attempt to quickly bounce back from a very bad and poor 9-6 from a very rare poor 9-16 campaign. And it also says poor, rare, poor 9-16 campaign. The Wildcats ranked 108th in rebound rate last season via team rankings, and Cockburn could provide an immediate boost on the glass. Like I mentioned, not a very good rebounding team. Bigs weren't great. Not putting shots up, missing a lot of close shots. And a guy who could shoot 65.4% as well. Now, yes, he does not dish out as much assists, and he doesn't shoot many threes. He's a big man. He doesn't shoot many threes, but assists, that could be a little bit of a concern. But but Kentucky does have more of that in your playmakers. Those are your guard plays. Those are your guys. They're going to be dishing out more of the assists. That said, it sounds like UK will have ample competition for the center in the transfer portal as he tries to find the best program to bolster his NBA stock heading toward the 2022 draft. And, it's, as a fan, it makes you excited because this could be a guy who could be a big part of this team, a guy who could really help us make this team that rebounds about here to really here. And that could be big. And, big year for Kentucky because you got to find a way to win this season. And, Last season wasn't good. It was a weird year. It was just odd. This season, you got to be better. And I'm expecting to be better. And Kofi Cockburn would really higher those expectations. And, and it would be a big loss for Michigan. Not Michigan, rather. Illinois. So, you just gotta, I just think, I think with Cockburn and his assist, I think he could definitely dish out more. It could be one of those things where, if Kentucky it's kind of more their guard play, though. That's where you're going to get a lot of your assists and your playmaking abilities from your guards. Cockburn's more of the physicality. He's going to bring the energy. He's going to get the rebounds. He's going to get the putbacks. He'll score. Assists isn't really his game. You could say that, he could adjust on that, but your guard play is really going to where your playmaking is going to come from, if you follow what I'm saying. So, but yeah, definitely big, and I'll read his stats here for you here. Read some of his stats this season. 17.7 points per game, 9.5 rebounds. Like I mentioned, assists only 0.2 per game. Does not get many assists, but and 65.4 field goal percentage. 7 foot, 285 pounds, sophomore. Just really, really, really good player. And like I mentioned, this season, 27 minutes per game, 65.4 field goal percentage. His free throw percentage is 55.3. Rebounds 9.5, which is up from last year. Blocks 1.3.1 down, but steals, then you got your assists or points, which is 17.7. And definitely a guy who had a very strong year last year, played 31 games, and was a big part of that Illinois team and a big part of that successful season that they had. So definitely Kentucky would be big for Kentucky. This would be big. And even just to get a guy that can rebound, assist, that stuff, hopefully that will come. But just to get a rebound, be physical, energy. That's what Kentucky needs. They need energy-inducing plays. Last season, we were flat a lot of times. We were flat. We would make a shot, oh, woo, good for you, right? And you can get back on defense, too. You can be a solid defender. You see the blocks. Gets about, you can get about a block per game, about. All right, so that's what I got for Kofi Cockburn and Kentucky there. As we head to the New York Sports Update here, and Sports Update here, kind of just, around the sports world. As for the NBA, yesterday, Suns won 118-108. They move up 2-0 in the series. Giannis had a big game, 42 points. But at the end of the day, Chris Paul's 23, Mikal Bridges is 27, and Booker led the way for the Suns with 31. Those points were bigger. Those points were the big ones late there, and the Suns get the win, 118-108. And I mentioned, like I mentioned yesterday, and I mentioned earlier in the season, you take 2 games here, which is what they did. They did their job. They won 2 at home. That's what you're supposed to do. Now you head to Milwaukee. You got to take either game 3 or game 4. If you just take at least one of those games, you head back home game 5. If you take 2, great. You sweep, season's over. You're parading. But if you take at least one of those games, then you head game 5, and you have a chance of winning it there. So right now the Suns are in the driver's seat. They just got to take care of business again, and they'll really be in the driver's seat. All right, so let's get to the MLB. Yesterday, the Padres won, Brewers won, Phillies won, Indians won, Twins won, Rockies won, A's won, Dodgers won. So I was watching the Phillies-Cubs game last night. That was on. I was watching a little bit of the NBA Finals and the Phillies-Cubs game. I was going back and forth there. And, so the Phillies-Cubs game. Bases loaded. 2 outs. This is why there should be a universal DH. Now, the Phillies still won 8-0. Good for them. All that great stuff. Zach Eflin, who I had in fantasy, had a good start. 6 innings, 5 hits, no runs, no earned runs, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts. He had a good game. He did his job. But he comes up to bat. So Zach Eflin comes up to bat. And so this is why there should be a universal DH. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Eflin's pitching a good game. Girardi, which I understand the game plan, he's not going to want him to take him out in a 4-0 game. And sure enough, Eflin comes up. That is where the universal DH should come in. Your pitcher is up with 2 outs and bases loaded. Like, really? That's great strategy. That is exactly what you want up. Like, that's what I'm talking about with baseball. Would you rather a DH up there, someone who could hit, someone who's a power hitter, or would you rather a pitcher up there who's just going to stand up there, either look at 3 pitches down the middle or roll over and hit a slow ground ball and jog to first base? Like, that just annoys me. Like, all this 9 players play, 9 players should, if all 9 players play, they should all bat. No, that's Little League. All right, unless if you're Shohei Ohtani, pitchers should not be hitting. And Shohei Ohtani's a rare breed. So, I just wanted to say that because it is so dumb. Like, bases loaded, 2 outs. You have an opportunity to blow the door open, your pitcher comes up. And that's not Girardi's fault because you're not going to take Eflin out. It was pitching a really good game. That's another thing. If you want to hit for your pitcher, you got to take him out, and then that's it for the game. Then you got to bring in someone else. Like, what if in the second inning you have bases loaded and an opportunity to really blow the door open, your pitcher comes out there? Are you going to sub? Like, that's what I'm talking about. It's so dumb. Philly still won, but I picked that up, and I was like, oh, my God, here comes the pitcher. And I noticed it because when the 8-hitter was up, I was like, okay, next up is going to be Eflin. I was wondering if they were going to go out and take him out, but he was throwing a gem. He was throwing really well. He's having a really good game. I was like, no way they do this. And sure enough, I was like, no way they pinch hit for him. And sure enough, he comes out there, grounds out. And it's not Eflin's fault. He's a pitcher. Hitting's their last of their focus. And then everyone's going to complain about injuries. Well, it ain't my problem when they're getting injured running the first base or injured on a swing. It's just ridiculous. It really is. It's so stupid. It's just dumb. It just doesn't make sense. I don't know why in the world... I don't know why in the world people think that it's a great idea to have the pitcher hit. I just don't know. I don't know why in the world people think so. It just doesn't make sense. It makes 0 sense to me. And they still won 8-0, but I'm sitting watching a baseball game. Bases loaded. That's like a golden opportunity to watch a grand slam, to see a bases clearing double. They talk about how people say how the sport's boring. I don't think it is, but people say how there's not enough runs, there's not enough hits. So bases loaded, 2 outs, and your pitcher comes to the bat. Is that going to help solve any of our problems? No, it's not. It's only going to make them worse. So I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to point that out because I saw that yesterday. And to get to the Yankees game, Yankees lost yesterday 4-0. We moved to 44-42 on the season. We talked about it earlier. Tough to win a baseball game when you don't score any runs and you only get 1 hit. As for today, and the Mets got rained out yesterday as well. Their game got postponed. As for today, we got the Cubs, Cardinals. I'll give Cubs to win. White Sox, Orioles. I'll give White Sox to win. Rays, Blue Jays. Give Rays to win. Braves, Marlins. Give Braves to win. Phillies, Red Sox. I will give Red Sox to win. We'll get to the Mets in a second. Indians, Royals. Give Indians to win. A's, Rangers. Give A's to win. Reds, Brewers. Give Reds to win. Twins, Tigers. Give Twins to win. Giants, Nationals. Give Giants to win. Angels, Mariners. Give Angels to win. Dodgers, Diamondbacks. Give Dodgers to win. And Padres, Rockies. Give Padres to win. Mets also play today. Mets come in this game 45-38. Pirates come in this game 32-54. This game goes on today, 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time on SNY. Pirates got Brewbreaker on the mound. He is 4-8 with a 4.09 ERA, and the Mets got Taijuan Walker on the mound. He is 7-3 with a 2.44 ERA. The over/under for this game is set at 7.5. Let's see. Doesn't show the percentage of people who think who will win this game. Okay, doesn't show. Doesn't show the percentage of who it is, but the Mets are the favorites, so that's no surprise there. As for today, we got the Yankees, Astros as well. Yankees come in this game 44-42. Astros come in this game 54-34. This game goes on today, 8:10 p.m. Eastern Time on MLB Network. You'd also find this game on Yes Network. Yankees got Nestor Cortez on the mound. He is 0-0 with a 1.29 ERA, and the Astros, or the Cheaters, got Jake Odorizzi on the mound. He is 3-3 with a 3.70 ERA. The over/under for this game is 9.5, and the percentages are out here. 60% of people think the Cheaters will win. Let me see if the Mets is back up. The Mets is still not out there. So the Yankees is, Mets isn't, but 60% of people think the Cheaters will win. As much as I can't stand the Cheaters and I can't stand them, I just don't know how you can feel confident. It's not that I don't feel confident. It's just that you got to get more than one hit. You got to get more than one hit. I think this game really decides on whether or not Nestor Cortez pitches well. If he pitches well, if he goes out, gives us quality start, and we hit the ball, that's big. But that's really it. I definitely think the Yankees have a great shot at winning tomorrow. So I could see them. I give them a win either today or tomorrow. One of those either. I could see them winning today. I could see them winning tomorrow. I could see them winning tomorrow really because they beat Greinke a lot in the past. They've destroyed Greinke. Odorizzi, I don't know so much about that. But Odorizzi's not anything overpowering. So I could see us taking a win. I'll give them a win either today or tomorrow, and then Sunday, all depends. As for fantasy baseball, today I'm currently losing 194 to 116. Today I've got going Will Smith, Luke Voigt, Jay Cronenworth, Gene Segura, Marcus Simeon, Carlos Correa, Matt Olson, Christian Yelich, Whit Merrifield, Avisail Garcia, Josh Harrison, David Peralta, and Franmil Reyes. And other than that, no new updates on the injury front. We do have an update, actually, on Bregman. No update on Margot, and no update on Glasnow. But we do have an update on Bregman. So, Bregman quadriceps will hit on the field ahead of Wednesday's game against the A's. Chandler Rome of the Houston Chronicle report. So, that was on Wednesday. That's actually a little bit of an older report, but that happened on Wednesday. So, that's an update on him. I wasn't going to sit here and put money on it that he won't be back until the All-Star break, more than likely. Or until after the All-Star break, rather. Just because, it doesn't make sense to bring him back for like 1 or 2 games against the Yankees. Sure, bring him back all you want. I don't care, but it doesn't make sense. Because, give him the extra couple days. I don't think he's in the All-Star game. I don't believe so. Give him the couple extra days and whatever. Even if he is in the All-Star game, he won't have to play. And DeGrom's not playing the All-Star game. So, but yeah, that's what I got for the podcast. That's another week in the books. Obviously, today's Friday. As you all know, I take breaks on the weekends, so I will see you all back here on Monday. And everybody, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy all the sports are on. Enjoy all the baseball. Go Yankees. Big series here before the All-Star break, and enjoy it. Everybody have a good weekend. I will see you all back here on Monday. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.